Hi guys, this is gsnom.com and I'm here with the Sony Xperia XZ3 for a full and detailed review, as we do. So we're dealing here with the latest fall flagship from Sony, the Xperia XZ3. It debuted at IFA 2018 and is the third flagship this year after the XZ2 and the premium one. Now it has a singular camera at the back, some evolved aesthetics, and is priced at around $800. So it finally gets an OLED screen. It has a Snapdragon 845 CPU and some stereo speakers. Now we're talking about the design first. It's got to be one of the most slippery phones I ever played with. Usually the slippery part is the back or the front. Now the frame is also very glossy. It feels like even the frame is covered in glass. It's not, it's metal, but it feels like glass. So be advised, you must get a case for the phone or otherwise it slips. It's one of the only phones that I forgot in an Uber because it slipped from my pocket. Keep that in mind. Pretty slippery, but also very premium and very eye-catching. All of this glass and glossiness, it feels truly amazing. It comes in black and a few other hues. As far as I know, there's also a white hue, a green hue, beautiful green hue, and a red hue. Curved glass, but this time the curved back glass isn't as curved as the Xperia XZ2. If you remember, I actually made it rotate on a table. This one doesn't quite rotate, and the size has become more compact. Measures 9.9 millimeters in thickness. It weighs 193 grams. The Xperia XZ2 measured 11.1 millimeters in thickness and weighed 198 grams. The diagonal has increased from 5.7 inch to 6 inches this time around. It's got IP65, IP68 certification for waterproofing, curved glass all around, and I would call the grip decent if you really learn how to hang on to it, really take care of it, otherwise you're going to drop it. You should actually grip these buttons more so as you won't drop it. Premium for sure, very good looking, but folks, get a case because it gets smudged and it slips. Now, if you're wondering about the screen, I said it before, Sony doesn't usually do this type of screens. It's a P-OLED 6-inch 2880 over 1440 pixels. It's got HDR, it's got 18:9 aspect, it's got tri-luminous, and also let's check out the viewing experience. Now I would be tempted to use a video app if they still had one. They actually don't, so I'm going to use MX Player, which I'm going to fit to the screen, stretch it up, and as you can see, we truly have a curved screen, perhaps the most curved I've seen from the Galaxy S7 Edge and the following iterations. I have to say that the colors are very vivid, actually close to perfect if you ask me. Pretty solid brightness, deep blacks, wide view angles, so the screen excels, and unlike the other P-OLEDs out there, it doesn't have any problems with the viewing angles in a vertical fashion. Solid contrast and slightly curved corners, and check it out. Even on a white background, you'll see that there's no problem with any gray hues or things like that. Now let's see other things we found about the screen when we put it under the microscope, for example. So we go here, and this is what the pixel arrangement is like. We're dealing with a pentile matrix, familiar for the OLED family, and we measure the brightness with a top level of 514 lux units. It's solid. It beats the iPhone 8 Plus and the Google Pixel 2 XL, scores below the iPhone 8 and also the first Pixel XL and the Xperia XZ2 actually, which had 580 lux. You may have noticed that it's very easy to press parts of the screen and options by mistake, so be careful with accidental touches. As usual, we have a lot of settings for the screen, and you can find them in the display area. You got your brightness, you got your adaptive brightness, your sleep, font size, display size, you got your color gamut and contrast, professional mode, standard mode, or super vivid mode. There's also white balance, warm, standard, cool, or custom, video image enhancement, which I keep on because it looks pretty nice, side sense, which is this feature here. You can double tap on the frame, excuse me, not on the frame, on the side. Do a quick double tap and the option will appear, and it can actually predict and sometimes appear with a single tap on the side when it's being summoned. I know that people criticize me in the unboxing that I'm not pressing properly. Well, now I am, and I can actually see an accurate prediction of the apps I'm going to use, judging by my last behavior. It takes a while to get used to, but you'll get it in the final hours of using the phone. So side sense is here. You can activate or deactivate it. You can tweak the menu and use the Xperia Intelligent Engine. Okay, there is also sensitivity to tweak. We got a one-handed use mode, cover selection, and a glove mode, as well as the smart backlight, night light, and prevent accidental operations, which is pretty vital if you ask me. Now we're done with the screen. Feels pretty solid to me. You should prevent accidental touches. And now let's go to the other hardware. Okay, so I mentioned hardware. We're getting here a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845, 4GB RAM, 64GB of storage, as well as a micro SD card slot. Now I know they could have put more RAM here and more storage, but I'm going to live with this. And actually last year when Android Oreo came up, I thought that it was very fluid. Somehow Android Pie makes things even more fluid, believe it or not. The animations are excellent, everything slips from below my hand, everything is snappy, there's no lag. We ran anything like a charm, we ran games, we ran apps, we did updates, we installed stuff, downloaded stuff, we didn't miss a beat. And here we are playing Riptide GP Renegade, our typical benchmark game. Here we go. Rest assured, I also played the shooter, and rest assured you can easily play it PUBG here. And also Fortnite, by the way, have you heard? You can actually play Fortnite without an invitation. You just go to the site, download the game and play it. Of course it works on this phone. And Riptide looks amazing. You can turn the graphics all the way up considering the specs. You can also do that in PUBG and Fortnite with ease. Okay, so gaming checks out and probably does in a few other games. Let's see how we handle the pressure of the benchmarks. We did the usual Antutu 6, 7, Geekbench and so forth. In Antutu 6, this is the score that we got, beats the Galaxy Note 9 and also the OnePlus 6. At the same time, scores below the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 8. Now, we also did a test in Antutu 7, which is here, and as you can see we beat the Zenfone 5Z, the Pocophone F1, HTC U12 Plus, but scored below the Snapdragon 845, Galaxy Note 9 and the OnePlus 6. This is Antutu 7. This is Geekbench 4. The multi-core score is the one that interests us. This one here is placed above the Huawei P20 Pro and the Galaxy Note 8, but below the shocking Xperia XZ3, HTC U12 Plus and the Note 9, at least one of them. Slingshot is the benchmark dedicated to your graphical results. We have it here. It's superior to the HTC U12 Plus, Galaxy Note 9 with Exynos, and it scores below the Xperia XZ3 and Galaxy Note 9 with Snapdragon 845, and also below the OnePlus 6. We did a temperature test, and guess what? Lately we're doing more than a temperature test. We're also doing a special heat map of the device. Now, temperature test is this one, 36.1 degrees Celsius in Riptide, no overheating, and this one, 38.2 degrees Celsius in GFX Bench. So once again, no overheating here. And we have the thermal heat map of the device. You can see the areas where it gets hotter, courtesy of the Cat S61 handset, which we reviewed recently and has a very nice FLIR thermal camera. So basically the top area of the phone tends to get a bit hot at the back side. Okay, we're done with the performance. Let's talk battery. There's a 3330 mAh unit here with a stamina mode, wireless charging of the QI variety, fast charge, and let's check out our results. Okay, so let's see how we did. First of all, we achieved 10 hours and 13 minutes of continuous HD video playback. That's the playback time. It's superior to the Sony Xperia XZ Premium, the iPhone 7 Plus, the Xperia XZ1. Still, it scores below the Nokia 8, also the HTC U12 Plus, and by the way, the Xperia XZ2 had about 1 hour and a bit more than this phone, so keep that in mind. The other test was a bit underwhelming. This is the work battery life, the continuous usage in PC Mark. 7 hours 37 minutes doesn't cut it nowadays for sure. It's the 100 placed phone in our tests. It beats the Nokia 8 and HTC U12 Plus, but scores below the Xperia XZ2 and it's 8 hours and 31 minutes. Also below the Galaxy S9 Plus. The charging is a bit on the long side, while other phones are kicking down the 1 hour barrier. This one is struggling with 2 hours and 49 minutes. And after 1 hour, you're at just 56%. And as usual, Sony has provided here their famous, world famous stamina mode. You go to the battery, you got your stamina mode here, you can do your tweaks and save a few more hours of juice. And the ultra stamina mode just lets you use the basic features, phone, messages, contacts, camera, album and more, also using a less energy consuming interface. Okay, that's the battery, and now we move on to the acoustics. So Sony has accustomed us with stereo speakers. Let's see, we have here the earpiece at the top and we have another speaker at the bottom. You'll actually tempted to look here. It's in fact this slit here, the second speaker. So top and bottom stereo speakers with high resolution acoustics, LDAC, and a lot of goodness which can be found here via a pretty badass equalizer in the settings department. Okay, so we go here and let's see what's happening in this area. So there's forgive me for that, there's DSEE-HX, which upgrades the quality of compressed music up to high resolution standards. There's Clear Audio Plus, there are sound effects, there is the equalizer here with equalizer presets. You got rock, pop, jazz, unique, soul, easy listening, and more. These are 5 custom channels. There is a clear bass, there's surround sound with a few options, and also there's S-Force front surround. Plus dynamic normalizer and automatic optimization for each ear and pair of headphones. Okay, now let's actually listen to some tunes on this device. Okay, so you just saw the phone moving by itself. It has a powerful vibration system, the dynamic vibration system, which you can actually deactivate if you want to. So that's the gist of it. I'm pretty satisfied with the volume that we achieved here, satisfied with the bass, the way the guitar was heard. You will not cover the speakers in landscape. This one stays intact, this one too, so no problem in that regard. Okay, so that's that when it comes to the acoustics. Pretty loud, pretty clear, good bass, and even nice stereo sounds. And now let's go to the decibels, because we also did the decibel measurement, and here we go. 80.8 decibels were achieved at the top of the phone, and at the bottom we achieved 83.8 decibels. This is the value. Now you should consider that with the lower value we beat the Huawei P10, the Nokia 8 Sirocco, but scored below the Pocophone F1 and below the iPhone 7. In the Riptide GP Renegade we scored 94.5 decibels, and this one means we beat the Xperia XZ3 and it's 92.5 decibels. We beat the Galaxy S9 Plus, so not bad, but we scored below the Huawei Mate 10 Pro and the HTC U12 Plus, as well as the Xperia XA2. And as you can see, I keep pressing this area by mistake. It's actually predicting it. So overall pretty solid speakers, and there's no audio jack, but they give you a special adapter from USB Type-C to 3.5mm, and also no bundle headphones. Now, as far as the camera is concerned, we seem to be dealing here with a bit of a step back. The Xperia XZ2 Premium had 2 cameras at the back. Now the Xperia XZ3 has 1, just like the XZ2, and it uses a similar sensor. So we're dealing here with a 19 megapixel motion eye camera, so 19 megapixels, Exmor RS, 1.22 micron pixels, G-Lens, f2.0 aperture, 960 frames per second slow-mo video, but full HD. Bion Z autofocus burst, 8x zoom, steady shot, 5-axis stabilization, and a laser sensor, which is also in the package. Now this is the back camera. At the front there's a bit of an upgrade. There's a 13 megapixel camera with a wide angle lens and steady shot, and we also have an AI system which is supposed to identify the moment when you take the phone out of the pocket and keep it in landscape, meaning you're going to take a shot. Now the interface is also changed. I'm just going to show you the modes and you'll figure out. Finally, the Xperia UI has something new in the camera department. As you can see here, the options, you've got Google Lens, integration, slow motion, panorama, manual, creative effect, and sound photo. Of course, the manual mode lets you tweak white balance, exposure, ISO, shutter, and so forth. But I'm going to let the photos do the talking, and boy, do we have a lot of those. Okay, so I actually took 2 batches of shots. I'm going to take them one by one and totally dissect them, taking them apart piece by piece. So we actually took these shots in a bunch of cities. Let me start with Bucharest, you know, the capital of Romania, and we also have some shots taken in the west area of the country. And here we go. Now the first shots were taken indoors. I think I'm going to have to turn the auto rotate on. That's more like it. Okay, so here we go. These are the shots taken indoors during the press briefing about the Xperia XZ3. I have to say they're quite clear, although the subject in the background appear a bit moved. Now we moved outside. It was one of the last sunny days that we had for the first month of the fall, September, and I felt that some of the shots were a bit burned by the sun. I'm talking about overexposure here, particularly in the vegetation area. Now the zoom was quite okay, up to let's say 3x, maybe 4x, but then it got a bit grainy, still well within levels for this high resolution camera. When the sun is really up in the sky, you'll have some problems. As you can see here, the image gets a bit too white for my taste. The details are great overall, so you can pick any landscape shot and start zooming in, and you'll be very happy with the results of your zoom. There's some problem with the dynamic range in the background when the sun is particularly shiny and you're in a shady area, but in general the photos were bright and crisp. So I was happy with everything, minus the overexposure of the vegetation on account of the strong sun. Now the HDR functions pretty well, solving some of the dynamic range problem, and we also have several more shots here. And the actual star of this gallery is this collection of shots of toys, which look excellent. If you get close up, you'll enjoy perfect colors, perfect clarity. Just look at this photo. It's basically the best a smartphone can do nowadays. Look at this and you'll see what this Xperia can do. So excellent colors and clarity, especially close, but in the distance, and when the sun is strong, you may notice some burn and some overexposure. And actually the burnt green reminded me of the Huawei P20 Pro, to be honest. I love the fountain texture, so we actually shot a fountain here, and it has excellent texture, which is something that not many phones achieve. And of course we also took selfies, so we actually tried the selfies first. Wasn't very impressed with them, was a bit blurry, but then I love the texture of the beard and the texture of the skin. You can actually see every pore on the skin, and that's crazy. So that's pretty impressive, even though also the predecessors had pretty solid selfie cameras. And when you put portrait bokeh in action, you will achieve several more shots that look even better because the background doesn't matter. But sometimes the face gets all weird color wise. This is normal color, I would say a human yellow, but then it gets all white, and nobody is this white. So not very constant. We even have some moved shots. Another area where the phone shines is the close-up area. We have several close-ups here. You can see them. Here they are, pretty solid colors and a very nice level of details up close. Now that's one of the towns. As I said before, we have another gallery in another town, and this one has a lot of food shots and some superb close-ups. Not only food but also plants. We even played with a portrait option. Here we go. This is one of the best phones out there to play with a perspective, to create close-ups and focus on a variety of items, objects, vegetables, plants. So this is an area where it truly shines. We also took a panorama with a resolution of 10,672 over 3488. And these are some of the shots of the food. It was a food festival, so we have colorful shots galore, but considering it was a pretty sunny day, you'll also see some problems with dynamic range yet again, and some off colors. If you zoom in excessively, there will be some grain, but only after 4 or 5x. We have a huge gallery for you. Rest assured you'll see everything in the full text review. More shots here. Overall, my feeling is that we're getting an experience that feels a bit below the iPhone XS Max. I've been playing with it recently, and also the Galaxy Note 9. It's below it. It could fight maybe a Huawei P20 Pro because they have the same color problem, but this one shines in close-ups, details, and all colors except the greens and the blues, which feel a bit overexposed every once in a while. It doesn't feel like a huge upgrade from the Xperia XZ2, to be honest. It fixes the problem with the sun a bit. The XZ2 actually faced the sun worse, and I would say it's 90% of the experience of the HTC U12 Plus. So it's very similar to the HTC U12 Plus, perhaps with better details and better close-ups. But on the color front, it's like the Huawei P20 Pro. That's daytime capture. So now let's check out some low light captures in this huge gallery we have here. So low light, basically shots taken during the night time. What we got here is clearly a lesser brightness than other phones. It's, after all, it's f2.0 aperture, so it was expected, but an excellent level of zoom, pretty solid details, nice texture of the wall and colors. The flash worked out okay, no exaggeration from it. And a bit darker than we saw on the Huawei P20 Pro, Google Pixel 2 XL, Galaxy S9 Plus, Galaxy Note 9 and so forth. The light reflection kind of bummed me out. We see extra reflections compared to other phones. You can see here those extra artifacts that we will not see on other handsets, so keep that in mind. But the colors were okay in general, and shots were pretty nice, to be honest, when it came to the zoom, details, colors, so everything except the reflections and maybe some of the brightness, everything checks out. Okay, so that's that during the night time. My conclusion, I would say that it's inferior to the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 and the iPhone XS Max, but it could make it to a top 7, let's say, at the end of the year. And we have this shot here. I took an exactly identical shot with the Galaxy Note 9 and the iPhone XS Max, and you can actually see the tiles of the floor in very much detail there on account of more light caught. So Sony needs to get a grip and get better lenses and catch more light. That's the thing. Still excellent low light capture, top 7, but still there are at least 5 phones better than it at night. Now let's go to the videos. Okay, so video capture, I'm going to spare you of the navigation around these menus, so I'm going to go to dedicated app. So let's say we play with MX Player Pro. We go here and we got all the videos we need. So we filmed in Full HD, MP4, 30 frames per second, 18 mega per second, and let's start with the videos from Bucharest. Video number 1. This one you can see a bit of burn, bit of overexposure on account of the strong sun. However, the clarity is excellent, nice focus, and pretty nice level of detail. But keep in mind, overexposed on account of the sun. Now this is the next video. It's a stabilization test. We're moving around the park, and as usual for the past 3 or 4 generations of Sony's flagships, this one delivered a solid stabilization on account of the steady shot experience. Basically nothing to comment negatively here. Okay, then we move further, and we got this video here. Some of the clips we're showing you are actually in 4K and they look pretty nice, even though there is a temptation to overexpose the vegetation on account of the sun. Clarity is always tip-top, focus is always tip-top, excellent details, and even an okay microphone in spite of some problems with the wind. The 4K capture is on par with every other phone out there, every other flagship. We also have this video here. I wanted to shoot something moving with 60 frames per second, and this is it. And I feel pretty happy with the cinematic result. Okay, and more videos here. This is actually a comparison. One of these videos is the HDR one, and the other one is exactly the same but without the HDR, so you can tell the difference. This one is burnt when the HDR gets rid of the burn, so that's one use for it. Okay, so we also have more videos on this device, actually a ton of them. You can check them out with these. We shot them at sunset. We shot them in each and every situation. I was happy with the focus all time. We even did a special test of the focus, which you can see here, and it's actually pretty impressive. Speaking of impressive, we have an amazing slow motion. I would even say it beats the Galaxy S9, which is no small feat. Let's try and find it. It's actually pretty hard to find because we pulled off a pretty nice slow motion video. Pretty sure is the next one. This is it. Very impressive slow motion. That's what I wanted to show you. No longer the problem of HD, it's full HD and it looks pretty stunning. There's basically nothing bad to say in the video department except for the overexposure of colors. Otherwise it can fight on par with the Huawei P20 Pro. It slightly beats the Galaxy S9 Plus in some areas except the colors. It can easily fight HTC U12 Plus, Galaxy Note 9, and feels slightly below the Galaxy Note 9, but not by much. But there's also a weak point, the weak point being low light capture. That's a bit of a bummer, I know, and let's check it out. So low light capture should be here somewhere. Here we go. This is video number 1, and you can already tell there's something wrong. This is low light video capture, and we got pretty big halos and a lot of artifacts being generated by the sources of light. There's also a bit of flicker and the zoom becomes unimpressive at this level. And then sadly we got this video which is basically purple. If you look closely, there are purple waves appearing on the image as you move. The image will flicker on account of motion. Apparently steady shot not that good at night, keep that in mind. I'm happy with the clarity, I'm happy with the colors, but that purple thing appearing and the flicker, just no. Pretty good halos, even though there are some reflections, but this is actually not even top 10 material overall, I would say, because low light is even inferior to the Xperia XZ2. Keep in mind, with the Xperia XZ2 before we filmed in a blizzard of snow and still it was better than this. So that's something to take into consideration. Okay, so overall the filming is the strong suit together with the selfies and the close-ups and the details. Now if you want to talk about the web browser, it's clearly pre-installed Chrome, and let's access gsnrom.com. Here we go. It's got pretty solid results all around, and for input we got this keyboard here, which is SwiftKey and no swipe. Now on the connectivity front, the phone comes in a single SIM version. It also has a dual SIM version with nano SIM card slots. It's got 4G LTE category 18, 1.2 GB/s promised, Wi-Fi A, B, G, and AC with MIMO, GPS and GLONASS, Miracast, Bluetooth 5.0. There's DLNA, excuse me, Google Cast. There's an USB Type-C port at the bottom. There's NFC, and the chords were very loud and clear. And also a nice surprise, we did a speed test, and we usually, well, they're good usually, but this one is better than good, especially in an area where many phones don't exactly shine. So let's see it. So we actually got as high as 140 megabits/second on 4G downloads, not bad, 62.5 megabits/second uploads, and on the Wi-Fi 265 megabits/second downloads, 25.3 megabits/second uploads, and even 25.5 megabits/second uploads. So the speed test was fine in the 4G department. I've seen phones with 300 or 400 megabytes on Wi-Fi, so that one could need more work maybe. And here we are finally. Time to talk about the OS. Let's see what the OS is. Spoiler alert, this is the first Android Pie phone that we test. Android 9.0 Pie. About phone, here we go. Android version 9. So here we have it. Sadly, Sony decided to put the Xperia UI and cover up some of the features that Android Pie should offer. So this is basically a review for the OS and not quite, because some of the features are actually lacking. For example, I struggled to find the special navigation gestures. You know, Android Pie borrowed the iPhone 10 navigation gestures with the swipes all around. This one doesn't have them, so keep that in mind. It also doesn't have the horizontal app switcher, which you can see on other phones like the Pixel phones, and some other features are covered by the Xperia UI. We got here among the features app actions, which are suggestions at the time of day, which are basically replaced by this side sense basically. In the beta feature we have app slices and digital well-being, which has yet to come to this phone from what I know. We got adaptive battery, which reduces the wake time, and do not disturb is activated by putting the phone face down, or at least that's what happened on paper. And boy, is side sense annoying or what. Android Pie will also bring you improved notification management, and also you can rotate some menus and some screens. We got smarter adaptive brightness, you got better volume control. You actually saw the new volume control. Now it's displayed on the side and it goes straight to the media, doesn't bother you with tweaking the ringtone when you want to tweak the media. You got the quick edit for screenshots, which actually we do not have on this phone. Take a screenshot and you do not have the quick edit, which you may have on the Pixel. Other than that, Android Pie, what else it means? Well, something interesting we do have is this one, keep press the notification, and you can stop showing them or keep showing them. That's something new, and you can actually handle the notifications and it will remember not to bother you with them again. Some changes in the interface. You can see here we got a combo of gray, blue and white for the drop down section. The notifications and quick settings. There's the Google Feeds here on this side. This is the carousel for the multitasking. You can pull off a split screen, split the screen into, on the one hand you got this section, on the other hand you got the maybe weather, and that's how you do split screen on the Xperia XZ3. Well, other than that, keep the home screen pressed and you'll got the widget, wallpapers, shortcuts, transitions, grid and settings. Settings that have to do with auto rotation, icon size, appearance and background. And let's see what else. These are the widgets, typical for the Xperia UI, with some Netflix in the mix. Still, notification dots on point, available here. What else? We also have the settings, which are found here. As usual, a very small icon. I despised that from Oreo and it's still here. Connectivity, appearance, apps, notifications, battery, display, sound, lock screen and security. Well, the fingerprint scanner is very fast and pretty snappy, but it's placed too low. I found myself countless times pressing the camera and smudging it, which is certainly not a good idea. That's the natural way. Look at the size of my hand, look at the size of the phone. It's natural to put your finger on the camera, not here. It's weird. It's cramping up your fingers. So keep that in mind, Sony, for the next phone. Not a very comfy fingerprint scanner experience. As far as the pre-installed apps are concerned, I counted them all. There's 31 of them. That's nice. There's no bloater here. There's the core package, music album, 3D creator, calculator, calendar, email. You got your weather, and you even have Netflix, because let's face it, this screen is basically superb and you're going to watch some Netflix on your device. Okay, so I can safely say that there's no bloater here, and I can safely say it's time for the verdict for this handset that we're dealing with here. On the pro side, the Sony Xperia XZ3 does very nice close-ups, nice face texture when taking selfies, pretty good stabilization. It looks superb and it's made of premium materials. It has a solid screen, solid performance. It's got Android Pie, and it's the first one we test with this OS. It's got the dual stereo speakers which deliver pretty nice video capture, wireless charging, IP68, okay bokeh, okay video playback time for the battery, and I also think that the screen has evolved compared to the other Xperias. Now on the cons side, we got the weird fingerprint scanner placement. We got the annoying side sense which keeps popping up when we don't want it. The battery could have been better, especially in the charging and continuous usage department. And I have to say that Android Pie feels a bit dumbed down by the Xperia UI. Slow charging. Some gray may appear here on the corners of the curved screen, but nothing major. Low light video is pretty poor at this level, and the camera overall feels a bit below the other rivals, flagships on the market. And the fact that we only have 4 GB of RAM in close to 2019, not a compliment, and also 64 GB of storage, should have been a bit more. Side sense is annoying, the dynamic vibration system is more bothersome than useful, and those are the cons. In the end, this remains the best looking Sony Xperia phone I've seen in about 3 or 4 years. It's the first phone with Android Pie, but not a definite taste of Android Pie. It's got a solid camera, solid acoustics, and a nice screen. And there are some things that are actually inferior to the Xperia XZ2, which is not a good thing for any flagship. It's definitely not a buy over the Galaxy Note 8 or the iPhone XS Max, but if you've been holding out from the Xperia XZ1, you may want to skip straight to this one instead of the XZ2. If you have the XZ2, actually hold on to it because it has a better battery and a very similar camera, so hold on to your XZ2. And frankly speaking, not even the XZ1 is that far, even though looks wise this is clearly an upgrade. So this is basically it. This battles more something like the Galaxy S9 or S9 Plus, but that one has become lower priced in the meantime. And this is basically a phone for the people who have the whole Sony ecosystem, the PlayStation, the Bravia TV, the Walkman. Those are the people who buy Xperias nowadays. They probably get this one, but only if they didn't have the Xperia XZ2. This is from gsnhome.com. Bye bye.